This is your celebration. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. That there's a party going on right here. A celebration to last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate the party. Come on. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. We gonna celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure? This is your celebration. 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 This is your celebration.
Good job, Pagan.
And now I would like to ask Tuesday Moon and Skylar Payne to perform the Crayon Box Guitar.
Wouldn't it be terrible? Wouldn't it be sad? If just one single color was all that we had. If everything purple or red or blue or green. If pink is yellow and pink, orange, that I could be seen. Can you imagine how love the world could be if just one single color was all that we got to be seen?
Good job, baby. Good job.
And now I would ask Mr. Leroy Bugs and the elementary choir to perform Lean on Me.
Hey, give him the mic. Is somebody singing?
you won't let it show. Brother, when you need a hand, we all need somebody to lean on. Have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm somebody to lean on. If you need me, call me, call me, call me, call me, call me, call me. If you need me,
And now I would like to welcome Mrs. Melissa Braggs with Remembering the Movement.
Good morning. Today, some of our students will share with us some of our most notable events that took place in our history. You will recognize some of the stories to be dynamic that led to the civil rights movement. These horrific deaths served as reminders of injustice as well as hope and change. As we reflect on these events, we should remind ourselves that all lives matter and be mindful to thank God each day for how far we have come. As we continue to look beyond the trauma and the struggles of our past, it is our duty to seek equal rights, be a voice during civil engagement, and spark the creativity of all mankind. I'm going to leave you with this little quote. You may not always have a comfortable life, and you will. Let me start over. You may not always have a comfortable life, and you will not always be able to solve all the world's problems at once. But don't ever underestimate the importance of the importance you can have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own. Michelle Obama.
Good morning. The civil rights movement was a struggle for social justice that took place mainly during the 1950s and 1960s for Black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in the United States. The Civil War had officially abolished slavery, but it didn't end discrimination against Black people. They continued to endure the devastating effects of racism, especially in the South. By the mid-20th century, Black Americans had more than enough prejudice and violence against them. They, along with many white Americans, mobilized and began an unprecedented fight for equality that spanned 2 decades. Today, we would like to remember civil rights activists who became martyrs who stood up against social injustice.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Emmett Till. I'm 14 years old. My mom sent me to visit my relatives in Money, Mississippi. In the summer of 1955. My mother tried to warn me to keep my head down and not to look white people in the face. I really did not understand what she was talking about. I lived in Chicago and I had white friends. One hot day in Mississippi, my cousin and I went to Bryan Grocery and Meat Market to buy some bubble gum. I had been bragging to my cousins that I had a white girlfriend at home in Chicago. They dared me to ask the white woman who was a cashier for a date. I took them up on the offer. As I was leaving the store, I said, "Bye, baby." 4 days later, while I was sleeping in the bed at my uncle's house, early that morning, we heard pounding at the front door. It woke me up out of my sleep. It was a white woman's husband and her brothers. They had my uncles at gunpoint, demanding him to give me to them. They took me to a tool house and beat me. Then they placed me back in the truck and took me to Tallahatchie River. When we got to the river, I thought they were going to let me go, but I was wrong. I had to carry a 75-pound cotton gin fan to the back of the river. They ordered me to take off my clothes. The two men then continued to beat me. They gouged on my eyes and shot me in the head and threw my body tied to a cotton gin with barbed wire into the river. The authorities found my body 3 days later. The officials in the town tried to dispose of my body. My mother obtained a court order to have my remains shipped back to Chicago. My casket arrived padlocked and sealed with the state seal of Mississippi, but they did not stop my mother. My mother insisted that my brutalized body be displayed during my funeral. She wanted the world to see what they did to her body, her boy. My funeral was televisioned nationally due to my funeral being televised nationally. My murder became catalyst for the civil rights movement, allowing people of all races to join in the fight to put an end to violent Jim Crow laws.
Hello, my name is Carol Robinson. I am 14 years old. I am Cynthia Wesley, and I am 14 years old.
I am Eddie McCollum, and I am 14 years old.
Hello, I am Denise McNair. I am the youngest, and I'm only 11 years old. On September 15, 1963, we were in the basement, in the ladies' lounge, on 16th Street Basket Church. This was Youth Sunday, and we had our fancy white dresses on this day.
Denise and I were going to sing in the choir on that day.
And Cynthia and I were chosen to serve as ushers this Sunday. We did not know that only few feet away beneath the stone staircase outside the church walls, a dynamite bomb has been planted 8 hours earlier. At 10:22, the bomb exploded. The whole church shook. Plaster and debris fell around the people in Sunday school upstairs.
But we were in the basement, we were instantly killed. We have had many bombs in Birmingham designed to stop the black struggle for equality.
Ministers' homes, Black Palm Hotel, and other churches have been ripped, but nothing there has never been anything as evil as the dynamiting of children during Sunday school. This news spread quickly and is sicking people of all races and all political allegiances throughout the world.
Good morning. Hello, I am James Earl Cheney. I joined the Congress of Racial Equality, better known as CORE, in the winter of 1965. I was wanting to help our people gain their free right to vote that I worked totally free for.
Hello, my name is Andrew Goodwin. I joined the Mississippi Freedom Summer Project in my junior year at Queens College. I was an anthropology major.
Hello, my name is Michael Schwerner. I attend Cornell University with a degree in Rural Society. I'm married and my wife and I joined CORE to go south to work in the freedom movement. On January 20th of 1964, me, Andrew, and James Earl arrived in Mississippi. I was the first full-time white civil rights worker in the state.
The next day, we drove to the Lawndale community in Neshoba County to investigate the burning of Mount Zion Methodist Church. The church was a site for the Freedom School because it later became a target for the Klan.
When we were leaving the town, the police stopped us and said we were speeding. The police officers took us to jail for speeding. We had to stay in jail until 10:30 p.m. We also had to pay a fine of $20 before we could leave.
When we were about 10 miles out of town, the police pulled us over again. We had to get out of the car. This time the police officer handed us over to the Klan. We were murdered on the side of the road and our bodies buried. It took investigators 7 months to find our bodies.
Hello, my name is Viola Gregg Louisa. I traveled to Alabama in March of 1965 to help with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference led by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. My decision to help with Southern Christian Conference was decided because of the events that happened on March 7th in Selma, Alabama. They call this day Bloody Sunday. On that day, approximately 600 civil rights supporters attempted to march from Selma to Montgomery along Highway 80. The group barely got started when they were attacked by state and local police officers on the Edmund Pegasus Bridge. I could not believe my eyes. I saw these civil rights supporters tear gas and beaten with clubs. I decided then that I needed to join in the fight for civil rights. On March 21st, I participated in the next march Dr. King led from Selma to Montgomery. We were protected this time by the United States Army and National Guard troops. I also helped by driving supporters between Selma and Montgomery. On March 25th, I was driving another civil rights worker back to Selma. His name was Leroy Morton. He was an African-American teenager. We were on Highway 80 when another car pulled alongside my vehicle and shot me in the face. I was the first white woman to be killed for the civil rights movement.
The civil rights movement was an empowering yet dangerous time for African Americans and white Americans who wanted to help fight for equality. The efforts of civil rights activists and countless protesters of all races brought about legislation to end segregation, black voter suppression, and discriminatory employment and housing practices.
And now I would like to welcome Cassie Daniels with The Change Is Gonna Come.
every feast. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Lord, there've been times that I know I couldn't last alone. Now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it
And now I would like to ask Sola Miller to come up with the introduction of our speaker.
Today, our guest speaker, U.S. District Judge Brian Miller, was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and raised in Helena, Arkansas. After graduating high school in 1985, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy and served abroad in the USS New Jersey until 1989. He then returned home to Helena and enrolled in Phillips Community College. He later transferred to the University of Central Arkansas, where he completed his degree. Judge Miller attended Vanderbilt University Law School and graduated in 1994. He practiced law at Martin Merrow Martin and Tate in Memphis, Tennessee. He also served as a prosecuting attorney for Phillips County. Judge Miller was selected to the appellate bench in 2006 and the federal bench in 2008, where he now serves. Judge Miller is an active member of St. Mary's Catholic Church and has run a number of half marathons. He enjoys spending time with his wife Monique and 4 children, Adrian, Alex, Brian, David, and Eliza. Everyone please put your hands together and welcome my uncle, U.S. District Judge Brian Miller.
We have listened to the stories of a number of people who were involved in the civil rights movement. And these are stories that you see on television. These are stories that you hear about all the time. But I'm going to tell you a story about something even bigger from my perspective. The largest race massacre in the history of this country occurred in Arkansas. And it occurred in Phillips County, Arkansas in 1919. It's called the Elaine Massacre, in which 200 black people, primarily sharecroppers, were murdered. Many murdered in the fields while they were working. And they were murdered by people who came in from Mississippi up from Louisiana and literally drove around or rode around and shot people and killed them where they were. Most of those bodies were never recovered. Most of those bodies were put in the ground right where they were. Many of the families had people who came up here to work in those fields and they never saw their families again. Now, why is that important to me? Because I had 4 great uncles who were murdered in Elaine. 4. I have the picture of them laying in a ditch dead. Why is that important? Out of that massacre, 120 or over 100 white people were arrested. Because I think 5 white people were killed. None of the white people were put on trial. Over 100 black people were arrested for the death of the 5 white people. And we ended time they pronounced death, 80 minutes to 90 minutes, an hour and a half. One of the largest miscarriages of justice this country has ever seen. Ultimately, however, those convictions were overturned and the people were allowed to live. And why does that matter to me? One thing, I live in Dallas, I still do. But also, my grandfather was 13 at the time. Like I said, 4 of my great uncles were murdered. My great grandmother, I understand, my grandfather's daddy was a former slave. He had been freed in 1863. He was born in 1850 over in St. Francis County. Had come to Homeland during the Civil War. His son Robert was 13 at the time of the massacre. My great-granddaddy had passed away, but my great-grandmother was still living. She was scared for her son. She was the one who had to go down and identify the 4 bodies of my family. So she was scared. So what did she do? She took my granddaddy and sent him away to school because she was worried about what would happen. My grandfather went to Boston, was away from Helena. Well, he came back periodically, but was away from home for many years. Well, what happened to him? He went to Boston, ended up going to Howard College, ended up graduating from college, and went to medical school. So in one generation, we went from slavery to medical school to practicing medicine. I say that because that is the history of this country. Tragic, awful things, but good things can happen out of it. When I look around this room, what do I see? I see something that my father, who was also a doctor, who would tell me all the time, he never set foot in a classroom with a white person. From college to grad school to medical school, he never sat side by side with a white person. My father would look around this room, he died a few years ago, he would look around this room and say, he never believed when he was growing up that what we see here could be possible. He never could believe it. So, out of the tragedy that all the civil rights workers went through, out of all the tragedy my family went through, something good came out of it. And that's why we have days like today. There are people who say, black and white, why do we still recognize Black History Month? Why do we do this? It's because we can look, we wake up in this country every day and do not realize how great it is. We wake up every day and believe we just got here some kind of way. But it was struggle and sacrifice of all of our ancestors that got us here today. And that's why we recognize Black History Month. That's why we have these programs, to remind us how great we are, and how much we've overcome, and how beautiful this country is. Today's theme is breaking barriers. I can tell you from my family's history that there is no barrier that cannot be broken. Anything you face, and I say this to all the young people, I would not want to go back and be 16 or 17. I'm 55 years old, I'm getting old. But I would not want to go back, except for health, I would not want to go back and be 16 or 17 for anything. Because here's what I know. With youth, or with being young, there are all these feelings and emotions that you all go through every day over all kinds of things. Are my friends going to like it? What are they going to say about my shoes? What school am I going to go to? What grade am I going to get? All those types of things. Let me say this. When you hear these stories of what these people we've talked about today overcame, just remember when you are going through the worst times of your life, whether it's something your parents going through, whether it's something you're going through, whether it's health, whether it's bad grades, whether your friends are talking about you behind your back, whatever it is, just understand if you hang on, you can get through it. And that you can break whatever barrier that's in front of you. Because the history has shown us you can. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I felt like I I needed to come today and just tell you that. Whatever barrier you have in front of you, you can break. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And our history, these people we talked about today, tell you that. And when you look around this room and see who's sitting next to you, understand it took a lot of work for this to happen. And we look forward to you all continuing this. And with that said, I'm going to take my seat.
I would now like to welcome Mrs. Michaela Singleton and Kesson Staniels to stand up.
Okay, on the back of your program, we would like for everyone to sing together the Negro National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing. So, thank you.
Till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high and
Good morning. On April 12, 1963, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested yet again for violating one of the many unjust Jim Crow laws of the South, having a mass public demonstration. While in jail, he wrote the famous letter from Birmingham jail. In the letter he writes, "I must confess that over the last few years, I have been greatly disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the White Citizens Council or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice." 59 years later, in 2022, King's words still hold merit. The white moderate is often more devoted to order than justice. They would cheer for the African American young men and talk about how intelligent they prevent those same young men from dating their daughters, because that's just the way it's always been. The white moderate who claims that their black coworker is their friend, they love them to death, they do anything for them. Yet somehow that black coworker never gets invited to anything that the white moderate holds, because that's just how it is. While laws have changed to reflect the strides made by King and many others during the civil rights movement, the truth is we still have work to do, as many hearts in this nation still carry the same racist teachings handed down from previous generations, because that's the way it's always been. One of my favorite sheroes of the civil rights movement, Fannie Lou Hamer, once said, "You can pray until you faint, but unless you get up and try to do something, God is not going to put it in your lap." It is my sincere hope that at some point we get more good people, those who are willing to get up and actually fight for justice and change, than nice people, those who are content with things because that's the way it's always been. On behalf of the Junction City School District, we thank you for attending and watching our 6th annual Black History program. Y'all be blessed.
We have a small gift for our speaker, and we thank him so much for coming all the way out here to come and speak to us. At this moment, Ms. Mason, or even Ms. Hill, would you like to have anything to say for Ms. Mason? No? Okay. Well, we are finished with this Black History celebration, and I thank you again for being so sweet and nice and kind and participating. Good night.
Thank you so much. Miss Alice. I know you got your baby, but I sure just hate it when I'm about to start crying, so stop taking me. No, too late. We got 2 things. Okay. Let me,
Thank you all for such wonderful attention. At this time, we're going to let 7th graders file out first, followed by 8th graders. Teachers, if you will help us with this.
but you did good. Ceremony did pretty good too.